The first explosion ripped through the ridge and turned rock to dust. Rayhan Malik hit the ground. His ears rang. Grit filled his mouth. Bullets snapped over him like breaking twigs. The night lit up with muzzle flash from the terraces above. The mountain air smelled of cordite and wet soil. Rain soaked his sleeves and made the mud cling to his boots. "Push left," he shouted, voice raw. His team crawled toward a line of shattered pines. Torres dragged the radio on his chest and cursed each time a round struck the stones near his elbows, nor fired short bursts to cover them. Sparks danced off a rusted truck husk on the trail. A flare arced and turned the world white. They were 2 kilometers from the ruined city and already late. The mission was simple on paper. Get in. Find the courier. Extract the drive that could expose Colonel Voron's network. Simple never lived long on this mountain. Another blast shook the slope. A rocket slammed into the truck husk and flung steel like knives. Shards cut Rayhan's cheek. Warm blood slid down to his jawline. He tasted iron. A figure rushed them from the dark. Rayhan rose to a knee, fired twice, and the figure folded and slid away into the grass. He moved again. "Keep low. Keep moving. Do not lose the ridge." "Radio check," Rayhan said. Torres answered through a cough. "Comms are blind past the gorge. Jamming. Someone knew we were coming." Rayhan looked up. Rain streaked through tracer fire. He felt the pressure of time in his chest. The courier waited below, inside the city's broken heart. If Voron's men took him first, everything burned. Noor touched his shoulder. "Left flank. Close." Rayhan nodded. He switched to grenades. He lobbed one into the rocks where the flashes blinked. The blast punched the air out of his lungs. A scream followed, then silence from that nest. The rest kept shooting. He scanned for movement and counted breaths. 1, 2, 3. Keep the rhythm. Do not freeze. They reached the pines. The branches shielded them from the worst of the fire. Rayhan took stock. Torres had a gash on the forehead. Noor's sleeve hung in strips. Ammo was half. Water was low. The rain kept falling, steady and cold. "We pushed through the ravine," Rayhan said. "No lights. Stay tight. If you lose sight of my back, you shout." They slid downhill along a path of roots and stones. The ridge eased, then cut into a narrow channel of black rock. The sound of the storm softened. Only the drip of water and the click of gear filled the gap. Rayhan felt the weight of the mission pull at his shoulders. He saw in his mind the last letter he never sent, folded in his breast pocket. He would send it after. He promised himself that every time. A glow appeared ahead. Not fire. A small signal lamp shielded by a hand. Rayhan raised his fist and the team halted. A woman stepped from the shadows of the ravine wall. Her clothes were torn from travel. Mud covered her hair and shoes. Her eyes were steady, almost calm in the thin light. "You are late," she said in a low voice. Rayhan aimed but did not fire. "Name?" "Isla," she replied. "I am the courier's wife. He is dying." Torres stiffened. "Set up or miracle? Pick one." Isla lifted her hands. "He was hit leaving the city. We hid in the grain silos near the river. He has the drive. He begged me to wait for you." Rayhan studied her face. No tremor, no glance toward an ambush. Only the tight jaw of someone who had been afraid for too long and did not have time left. He lowered his rifle. "Show me." They followed her through the ravine to a narrow goat path that skirted a rock face. The trail opened to a ledge that overlooked the city. The ruins crouched in the valley like torn concrete ribs. Fires burned in scattered blocks. Distant bursts echoed between empty towers. The river cut a dark line through the center and swallowed the rain. Isla pointed to a silo on the near bank. "There." Torres checked his compass. "We can make it in 20, if nothing else goes wrong." Something else went wrong. A spotlight snapped on behind them. White light slammed into their backs and through their shadows across the ledge. A voice rose from a speaker with a clipped accent Rayhan had heard before. Calm, confident, hunting. "Captain Malik," the voice said. "Your route was elegant. Your timing was not." Rayhan turned. Men in dark gear lined the ridge above with rifles ready. A drone hovered behind them like a patient insect. The speaker stood in front, face half hidden by rain and glare. Even at a distance, the profile matched every file photo. Colonel Vorin. He looked almost bored. The courier is no longer your concern. The drive is mine. Walk away and live. Or step forward and lose the last of your team. Rayhan raised his rifle. He felt the ache in his arms and the chill under his vest. He saw Nor shift to cover Isla. He saw Torres move his thumb toward the radio's emergency burst. He counted distances. 10 meters to the first rifle. 30 to the drone. 100 down to the river. The math was ugly. Isla whispered without moving her lips. He does not have it. My husband still does. Rayhan met her eyes. She held his stare with a look that said one thing. Decide. He squeezed the trigger. The ledge exploded into noise. Rifles cracked. The drone dove. A line of rounds stitched the rock an inch from Rayhan's head. He charged into the light and felt the ground drop under his next step. The edge of the ledge crumbled. The world tilted. He grabbed for purchase and found only wet grass and sliding stone. His boot slipped into empty air. Rayhan plunged. The wind tore at his jacket. The rain blurred the night into streaks of silver and black. He slammed onto a lower shelf of rock with a grunt that knocked the air from his chest. Pain lit his ribs. His rifle skittered into the dark. Pebbles rattled down toward the river. Above him, the firefight still burned, echoes bouncing across stone walls. Captain. Nor's voice cut through the storm. Rayhan forced his lungs to draw air. He spat blood and dragged himself to his elbows. His side screamed with every breath. Stay up there, he called back. Hold position. He scanned the slope. 50 meters down, a trail zigzagged toward the city edge. If he moved, he could still reach the silo before Vorin. If his team followed, they'd be cut to ribbons on the exposed ridge. He knew what had to happen. Torres, he rasped into the mic. You take Nor and Isla down the goat path. Meet me at the silo. You're alone, Torres said. Static cracked through the line. Not the first time. Rayhan pushed himself upright. His knees shook, but held. Move. He cut the comms before they could argue. The descent was brutal. The slope turned to mud under his boots. Loose stone clattered into the abyss. His fingers gripped roots slick with rain. Every shift of weight stabbed his ribs. Once, his hand slipped and he nearly pitched forward, but he jammed his shoulder into the rock and held. The city grew closer with each crawl. Fires glowed in gutted apartments. Distant thunder rolled, though some of it was not thunder but shells pounding the far districts. The war had hollowed this place. Streets looked like broken teeth, and the river was a black scar through its center. At the base of the cliff, he found his rifle half buried in silt. The barrel was bent, useless. He drew his sidearm instead and limped toward the silos. He remembered his father's voice on the porch of their Karachi home years ago. The measure of a soldier isn't his gun. It's his will. Rayhan clenched the pistol harder. Will was all he had left. The silos loomed ahead, tall cylinders with rust streaking their sides. One door hung open, swinging in the storm wind. He entered. The air smelled of mold and dust. Rain dripped from holes in the roof and echoed in the cavern. A shape lay on the ground under a torn blanket. Thin, barely moving. Rayhan knelt and pulled the cloth back. A man stared up with hollow eyes. His chest rose in shallow waves. Dried blood darkened his shirt. The courier. His lips moved, but no sound came. Rayhan bent close. Drive, the courier whispered. His trembling hand slid a pouch from under his ribs. Inside, wrapped in cloth, was a small data module, the size of a thumb. Rayhan gripped it. Cold metal, heavy with consequence. He slid it into his vest. The courier's eyes locked on his. Protect her, he breathed. Rayhan turned. Isla stood in the doorway, soaked, hair clinging to her face. Behind her, Torres and Nor entered, weapons ready, scanning corners. Relief flickered across Torres's battered face. "Vorin," Rayhan asked. "On our tail," Nor said. "We've got maybe 5 minutes." The courier coughed, blood flecking his lips. He grabbed Isla's hand and pressed it to his chest. She knelt, tears mixing with the rain on her face. "We can carry him," she said. Rayhan shook his head. He felt the weight of every choice pressing him down harder than his injuries. The man could not make the climb. They all knew it. Still, saying it aloud would break her. A thud outside. Then another. Boots in the mud. Shadows moved in the doorway. Vorin's voice echoed into the silo, calm as ever. "You have something of mine. Give it, and I will spare her." Isla's hand tightened on the courier's. Nor raised his rifle toward the door. Torres wiped blood from his eyes and muttered a prayer in Spanish. Rayhan stood. His side burned. The module pressed against his chest like a heartbeat. He stepped into the center of the silo as Vorin's men filed in, rifles drawn, faces hidden by masks. And then Vorin himself appeared, trench coat heavy with rain, eyes sharp under the brim of his cap. He looked straight at Rayhan and smiled. "Captain Malik," he said, "we finally meet properly." Rain drummed against the silo roof. The hollow space amplified every sound, each drop like a ticking clock. Rayhan squared his shoulders and faced Vorin. His pistol felt small compared to the rifles trained on him. Nor and Torres stood at the edges, ready but outgunned. Isla clutched her husband's hand, her face pale, eyes locked on Rayhan. Vorin stepped forward with slow, deliberate strides. His boots splashed in the puddles. He didn't raise his weapon. He didn't need to. His men surrounded them, silent and efficient. "You've bled enough for your flag," Vorin said, his voice smooth. "Hand me the drive and take your survivors home. Be a hero to them. Or resist and watch each one of them die before you." Rayhan's chest rose and fell. His ribs ached with every breath. He thought of the letter folded inside his vest. He thought of a photo tucked in his pack of his younger sister, smiling with ink stains on her fingers from university work. He thought of the men he had already buried. Vorin gestured to Isla. "The woman first. My men will escort her out. Your courier has no more time anyway. I can be merciful when I choose." Isla's eyes widened. She shook her head, clutching her husband tighter. "No." The courier forced a whisper, broken and wet. "Don't trust," he coughed, his body convulsing. Isla leaned over him, tears sliding down. Rayhan raised his pistol toward Vorin. "You won't touch her." The soldiers around them stiffened, fingers tightening on triggers. Nor moved half a step forward, his barrel aimed at the nearest mask. Torres muttered again under his breath. The air snapped with tension, as if the storm itself waited. Vorin tilted his head, amused. Courage is easy when death is certain. But sacrifice without purpose? That is stupidity. Rayhan's mind raced. 10 rifles. 2 allies with dwindling ammo. 1 dying courier. 1 unarmed woman. A commander who thrived on manipulation. The odds screamed failure. But failure meant the drive reached Vorin's hands, and the network would spread more war across cities that had already burned. Then the courier's hand twitched. His eyes flicked toward the ground near his body. Rayhan followed the movement and saw it. An old fuel canister lying half buried in the grain dust, rusted but intact. Rayhan's pulse quickened. A plan. Risky. Insane. But maybe their only chance. He gave Torres a sharp glance, then Nor. Both men read it in silence, veterans of too many battles to need words. Torres eased his hand toward a grenade clipped on his vest. Nor shifted his stance for cover fire. Vorin noticed the subtle movement. His smile faded into a cold line. He raised his hand. "Enough," he said to his men. "End this." The rifles lifted. Rayhan shouted, "Now." Torres hurled the grenade toward the canister. Nor opened fire, cutting down the first 2 soldiers at the door. The explosion ripped through the silo like a thunderclap. The blast wave threw men off their feet. Dust and fire filled the air. The roof groaned as supports buckled. Rayhan grabbed Isla and shoved her toward the back wall. "Go." They scrambled through a maintenance hatch as flames licked up the silo walls. The courier coughed blood, but pushed the pouch deeper into Rayhan's vest with the last of his strength. His eyes locked on Isla one final time. Then his hand went limp. Isla screamed his name, but Rayhan pulled her away. There was no time. The silo was collapsing, beams shrieking as fire consumed the grain dust. Outside, rain hissed on the flames. Torres staggered out, half deaf, face blackened by soot. Nor followed, bleeding from his shoulder. Behind them, the structure groaned and then collapsed in a roar of stone and steel. Rayhan doubled over, coughing, clutching the module in his vest. He looked at Isla. She was on her knees in the mud, her husband gone, her face blank with shock. From the smoke, Vorant emerged. His coat was scorched, his cap gone, but his eyes burned brighter than ever. He raised a pistol, aimed directly at Rayhan. "You think you've won?" Vorant's voice cut through the storm. "This only begins tonight." The pistol fired. The shot cracked through the storm. Rayhan flinched, expecting the punch of impact. Instead, Torres grunted and fell sideways into the mud. Blood spread across his chest plate. His rifle clattered from his hands. No, Nor dragged Torres behind a wrecked cart, firing blind toward Voren. Bullets sparked against stone. Isla froze, her hands trembling as she stared at Torres gasping for air. Rayhan snapped up his pistol and returned fire. 2 rounds slammed into the wall near Voren, but the commander moved with chilling calm, retreating. Into the haze of smoke and rain, his men fired in bursts, forcing Rayhan and Noor back. "Cover him." Rayhan barked, sliding on his knees to Torres. He pressed his hand hard against the wound. Warm blood poured between his fingers. Torres coughed, eyes wide. "Cap, you keep that drive safe. Don't let it die here." Rayhan gritted his teeth. "Shut up. You're not dying tonight." Torres gave a weak smile, blood staining his lips. "Everyone dies sometime. Just make it count." Rayhan's chest tightened. He had seen men fall before, but Torres had been with him since the first deployment. They had shared trenches, rations, and graves dug under moonlight. He felt the old rage rise, hot and dangerous. Gunfire rattled closer. Noor shouted, "They're circling us." Rayhan pulled Torres's tags, tucked them into his pocket, then squeezed his shoulder once before letting go. He knew what Torres had asked. He knew what it meant. He stood, pistol raised, eyes burning through the smoke. Voren's voice echoed again, steady and controlled. "You can run, Malik, but you cannot hide. That module is mine. Give it, and maybe I let the girl walk away." Isla stiffened. Her face turned from fear to fury. "He killed my husband. He'll kill us all." Rayhan grabbed her arm. "Stay low. Don't move until I say." Noor shifted beside him, reloading with bloody hands. "Captain, we can't hold long. We need an exit." Rayhan scanned the ruins. The river roared nearby, swollen with rain. A collapsed bridge jutted from the bank like broken bones. The current was fast, black, unforgiving. But it was a way out. He leaned close to Noor. "We make for the river. No hesitation." Noor gave a grim nod. "On my mark," Rayhan said. He waited for the lull between bursts of fire. Then he yelled, "Move!" They sprinted through the mud. Bullets chased them, slamming into stone and dirt. Isla stumbled, but Rayhan yanked her up, dragging her forward. Noor laid down fire, teeth clenched against the pain in his shoulder. They reached the riverbank. Water foamed and raged below. The broken bridge slanted into the torrent. Rayhan shoved Isla toward it. "Go," he shouted. She hesitated. "What about you?" "I'll be right behind you." Noor covered her, firing at the shapes emerging from the smoke. Isla scrambled onto the bridge, clinging to twisted steel as the current roared beneath. Then Noor cried out. A round hit his leg, knocking him to the ground. His rifle skidded away. Rayhan turned, fury surging. Voren strode through the haze, pistol steady, eyes locked on him. The commander raised the weapon again, unshaken by the chaos. Rayhan aimed his own pistol. Both men stood in the rain, weapons leveled, the river roaring between them. 2 soldiers, 2 leaders. One decision away from survival or death. And then Vorin spoke, his voice cutting through the storm. This isn't your final mission, Malik. It's mine. And it ends with you. He pulled the trigger. The pistol barked. The flash lit the rain. Rayhan twisted. The round grazed aside, hot metal carving a line across already bruised ribs. Pain exploded, but he stayed on his feet. He squeezed his own trigger. Vorin staggered back as the bullet slammed into his shoulder. He didn't fall. His eyes narrowed with rage, and he steadied his weapon again, nor fired from the ground, dropping two of Vorin's men who had closed in. "Go, Captain," he shouted, blood soaking his leg. Rayhan pulled Isla toward the shattered bridge. The river roared beneath, dark and furious. They scrambled onto the broken steel. Wind whipped across the span, rain blinding their eyes. Behind them, Vorin's boots splashed through the mud as he followed, pistol raised despite his wound. Rayhan turned at the edge. Water churned below, like a black maw. He pressed the module into Isla's hand. "You keep this safe," he told her, voice raw. "If I don't make it, you find someone who can use it." Her eyes widened. "No, you come with me." "Go," he barked. She hesitated only a moment, then clutched the drive to her chest and leapt. The river swallowed her whole. Rayhan faced Vorin on the bridge. The two men stood, rain pouring, guns raised. "You should have walked away," Vorin said, blood running down his arm. "No one will remember you, but they will remember me." Rayhan's grip tightened. "Maybe, but they'll remember what I stopped you from doing." Vorin fired. Rayhan fired. Both shots cracked at once. Vorin jerked back, hit in the chest. He staggered, arms flailing, then toppled from the bridge into the raging river. His body vanished in the current. Rayhan stood frozen, chest heaving, vision blurring. The bridge groaned under him. Steel gave way. With one last look at the storming sky, he let himself fall. The river swallowed him too. Hours later, dawn broke gray over the valley. Nor crawled along the bank, half-conscious, wounds bleeding but alive. He saw Isla lying on the shore, clutching the module, her body trembling but breathing. She lifted her head, eyes scanning the river. No sign of Rayhan. She pressed the module to her chest, tears cutting through the mud on her face. Noor limped to her side, helping her to her feet. Together they stared at the current, where the man who had fought for them vanished. And yet, far downstream, tangled in reeds and broken branches, a figure stirred faintly. A bloodied hand clawed at the mud. A breath dragged into battered lungs. Rayhan Malik lived, barely. His final mission was not yet over.